Santa versus Jesus.
The epic party game.
Looks like you got a good deal on it. Goodwill.
Yeah, how much was it? Like buck? Oh, $1.88.
Buck
Jesus.
88.
What is the deal?
It is cool because it's like the two great Christmas myths pitted against each other.
Yeah.
Sort of the modernized, sort of materialism-driven, but also about generosity. Like I would say, even more than materialism, in its best light, Santa Claus is about the myth of Santa Claus is about generosity and shit like that. And then Jesus, the myth about a guy sacrificing himself. It's about sacrifice,
Yeah.
like generosity versus sacrifice. But then the sacrifice is kind of not a real sacrifice because he's God. So he's basically sacrificing himself to himself.
That is pretty trippy.
Yeah. And then he was only dead for 3 days. And then he came back. But he still went through. I think that, don't the Catholics or somebody say that he spent those 3 days in hell or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was in a timeshare presentation. Oh!
I think I might have covered the mic. You said he was in a timeshare presentation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because when we talked in one of our other videos about heaven, hell, and purgatory and all that, this game, I actually found it online. It's still for sale on Amazon. Add another digit to that. Make it $17 or $18. It was like $17.99 for the same game that I have right now.
Okay.
So I got a hell of a deal with it.
Got a pretty good deal. Probably has pretty good resale value too.
Yeah.
Because it's the kind of thing that hipsters would be into and stuff, like young hip people.
Yeah, maybe I'll have to sell it after this because I doubt I'm going to keep it. Or I may give it to the Mindbridge Game Library because I always just like giving them free shit.
Have you ever played it?
No, I've never even opened it.
I think you should maybe play it at least once.
Yeah.
But yeah, another thing about Jesus is that he's sacrificing himself, but God could just go ahead and forgive everybody. Like that's within his power. But
that is really trippy.
Yeah, it's not like you're following your own rules that you're imposing on everyone else, but you're God, so you make up the rules.
You're creating this artificial bullshit, basically.
Right.
Now, I do think, to some extent, for some people, they are decent societal things. Because I feel like if people didn't have Jesus or whoever they had,
I think there are some people who would just go nuts.
Yeah, they need that.
What's this? It's like an anime on the side. It's like an anime type of Jesus, and he's ripping his shirt off for some reason.
What's it say on there? Jesus rocks.
Huh.
Yeah.
And then there's Mary looking all badass for some reason.
Yeah, she was pissed off. No Santa.
Check me twice.
Oh.
Okay. That's a little. And then there's Mrs. Claus sporting a baseball bat, or no, a rolling pin, I guess. Gonna hit you with a rolling pin.
Yeah.
I've always been fond of the Santa Claus mythos.
Yeah. I always liked Bad Santa.
Yeah.
That movie.
But I like sort of the old world version of Santa, where he's just some guy who lives on the edge of a village, and he's like a wood carver. He's like a woodworker, and he spends his spare time making toys, like out of maybe the spare pieces of wood that he's got. And then every Christmas, he lives kind of like a hermit, but every Christmas he goes into town and he delivers all these toys for children,
Sounds a lot cooler than a delusional man up in an Arctic shithole.
Yeah, with magic and shit, where a flying sled and reindeer with radioactive reindeer, basically. Yeah.
I didn't really hear that old world shit before.
Yeah. Well, Santa Claus used to be like the
St. Nicholas.
Yeah, or like Sinterklaas, or it's kind of a conglomeration of St. Nicholas and a few other figures.
Krampus.
Yeah, yeah, a few other figures from Northern European legend, and they all kind of conglomerated over time into Father Christmas or Santa Claus, Kris Kringle, and one thing that I always am fond of mentioning is that my dad looks a lot like Santa Claus, so it was kind of cool for me because I never had to really stop believing in Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Like when I found out that okay, there's no Santa Claus who lives at the North Pole, but it doesn't matter because I've got my own personal Santa Claus living right in my house. You know, just because everybody else doesn't get gifts, that doesn't mean that I'm not. You know, just because like he's not giving everyone else gifts, who cares? At least I'm getting mine. I mean, that may sound like kind of a selfish.
I get mine.
Yeah, it may sound kind of selfish when I say it out loud.
Yo, fuck y'all, bitches. I got my Santa. Where's yours?
Yeah, but it was cool. It's like Santa Claus. He's real, but he's your dad. So that was always something.
You saw mommy kissing Santa Claus underneath that mistletoe?
Yeah, yeah. And so that really kind of softened the blow. I think for other kids, it's kind of a more traumatic thing.
Yeah.
Like finding out the truth. But then for me, and it was kind of like a death of sort of sense of wonder and innocence, because there's really only a short time in your life where you can like believe in like crazy stuff like that, and the world is like a magical place to you. And when that all comes crashing down, there is a little bit of a sense of loss there.
Yeah.
But still, it's like, you know, it softened the blow to be like, hey, you know, it's like you got your own Santa.
Yeah.
He doesn't live in the North Pole. He lives in the room down the hall. You know.
I never really. I don't even remember when I stopped believing in Santa Claus. I knew that like our youngest cousin though, always mine and the family there, believed in Santa Claus for like until she was like a teenager basically,
Yeah.
because there were more presents riding on it. So as long as we had somebody who believed in Santa Claus, Santa always had to provide some shit. You know?
Well, yeah, you know, in my family, even when all of us, all the kids, like were old enough that none of us really believed, we all still acted like we did. Like nobody, it was like something that nobody pulled that curtain. You know,
Yeah.
we all talked as if, oh yes, okay, so did Santa Claus come? And then my parents were like, yeah, he did.
You're
Come on.
putting that goddamn milk and those cookies out there because you know Santa wants his cut. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Because you got a lot of shit riding on this Santa shit. You better just play your cards right. And, you know, but that's interesting too because you think about it. The three things that I would say people would worship would be television, Santa, and Jesus to some extent. And the thing is, like, Santa just gives you free shit. He's going to give you more free shit, so...
Well, he's even gives stuff to the naughty kids. Like, you almost never actually hear of a kid getting a lump of coal in their stocking. Like, they almost always get stuff, even if they were a piece of shit. And I think a lot of the time I was a piece of shit, but I knew I was going to get presents because it never affected anything. You know?
They'll fuck the naughty and nice list.
And you know, I think a lot of you watching, don't you just hate that kid who was the kid who told you that there wasn't a Santa Claus? Like the kid who basically came to class and on the playground at recess and told you like that there wasn't one, and like destroyed that for you. Because there was always that one kid in class who was like a smart aleck and wanted to like show how like smart or grown up he was, and he ruined it for everybody else. And like every class in school had that one kid. And that one kid, if you're watching, you're a piece of fucking shit. You are. And I was not that kid, I don't think I ever, because I was one of the kids who wanted to keep believing.
Yeah.
I basically had this sense of, it was almost like, it was like deniability. You know, it was like, okay, there's currently I'm 10 years old, and there's currently like a 95% chance that Santa doesn't exist. But as long as I don't actually see, you know, my parents putting the presents down, as long as I stay in bed and I don't actually witness, you know, there's still that 5% chance that, and I can manage that I can maintain that 5% chance that he's actually real.
It's like don't ask, don't tell.
Don't ask, don't tell.
Santa Claus.
My mom blew it one year. She blew a big hole in the, like, you know, I was at a point where it's like, okay, there's like a 80% chance he's not real. And then that turned into like 95% or 99% because the card that Santa left was in her goddamn handwriting. She didn't disguise her handwriting. It's like, God, she was never particularly good at that stuff. My dad was, but my mom was never good at like doing things well.
Is this just in general, or is this for the holidays or for children?
The details.
Yeah.
She never had good attention to detail, whereas my dad did. My dad is all about attention to detail. He'll micromanage the shit out of anything. So. But your parents, they did the Santa Claus thing, right?
They did Santa Claus, and I don't even remember how I found out he wasn't real. I'm sure I found out at school, but I really didn't give a shit. I was still getting presents from Santa up until I was like a teenager, just because of my cousins and family and all that.
Well, like us, we like I said, we kind of, I think all of us wanted to keep the sort of tradition going, so we all acted like we thought that he was real.
Well, it's in some ways it's comforting. You know what I like about Santa versus Jesus? Santa doesn't judge. You mentioned that earlier.
Yeah.
You can be a piece of shit, and Santa's still going to give you something decent.
Yeah. And he doesn't send you to hell if you don't believe in him.
But you don't get to go on his Polar Express. Right. Mom loves that goddamn movie. She likes Josh Groban, though.
Oh, yeah. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains.
Well, you gotta sing it in Italian and like 27 other different languages.
Does your mom have the hots for Josh Groban?
Oh, she totally loves that guy. She has all his CDs, and like we were laughing about it, how like middle-aged women just buy shit like crazy. Like you talk about these young pop stars and stuff like that. You got this one, and then you could sing stuff in Italian and shit. You could be like, "Dopo steras tu la time." Let's translate that. These stupid bitches buy my stuff.
Yeah. I bet she likes Donny Osmond too.
I don't know. Jim McDonough she loved. They always with his concerts and stuff. And
Jim McDonough. Yeah.
I mean, those would be probably your top two. And a lot of them do holiday, Christmassy crap. All that stuff.
Yeah.
And I think
and I think they're the reason why the Christmas songs get played on the radio earlier and earlier every goddamn year.
Yeah, I listen to Rock 108, so I don't listen to that shit.
And they put Christmas trees up at their desks at work like October 20th.
Yeah. It was after Halloween at work, and they had like 12 Christmas trees at work.
There was like
a small place.
There was I worked in an office setting once, and there was this one woman who just put the tree up way too early, and everybody would complain about it. And she's like, "I love Christmas, so deal with it."
Yeah, I think it's acceptable anytime after Thanksgiving or after Halloween. But you got to give Halloween its day.
You got to give Halloween its day, but I think you also have to give Thanksgiving its day.
Okay.
But no, don't fuck it. Thanksgiving is Thanksgiving is what America needs. Thanksgiving is all about being thankful for what you have and being grateful. All Americans care about is goddamn materialism and wanting more and more and more. All they care about is so-called Black Friday, which isn't even a real holiday. It's a term that it's a sale day that was purposely given a name so that people would see it as a holiday, even though it's not. People talk about how people are like all like Black Friday. It wasn't even called Black Friday until about 15 years ago, and then that name took off, and then that outshined Thanksgiving, and now Black Friday is being outshined by like the sales that take place after Thanksgiving, like the evening of Thanksgiving. Yeah. And then there's goddamn Cyber Monday and Small Business Saturday and Giving Tuesday and Fuck You Friday. That's the one. That's the one that I celebrate. I celebrate Fuck You Friday because all of those goddamn days of the week can go fuck themselves.
Wow.
That's what I think. So anyway, yeah, I like Thanksgiving. I think that Thanksgiving needs to be, because when I was a kid, people didn't put up their decorations by and large until after Thanksgiving, and earlier on, it wasn't even until after like December 1st. People wouldn't even put up their decorations until then. And I think that's respectable, because I think that it's good to wait. It's good to have some patience and not like prematurely bring all of these things in. That's one of the problems with having the Christmas songs on the radio way too early. Number one is that they're all like poppy versions of those songs, and it's always the same 20 damn songs every year. It's always Christina Aguilera singing Jingle Bells or some other ridiculous shit. Instead of
goddamn chipmunks. I can't stand those motherfuckers.
Instead of like classy Christmas music, like like the classy stuff that people are going to want to hear.
Yeah.
By the way, if you ever are in need of some classy Christmas music, search on YouTube Kmart 1970s Christmas music.
Huh.
It's like a 2 hour. It's the album of Christmas music that Kmart stores played in the 1970s. It even has like breaks in between songs where they talk about like there is no smoking in the store, please. You know, attention shoppers. You know, and that kind of stuff. You know.
Oh. Did they have ads too? Like this week we're gonna, or did they not advertise on it? Did they try to keep?
Yeah, they advertised on it. Yeah, but it was like the breaks in between
Classy,
the songs.
wow.
Yeah, and then like there was one where it wasn't like it said if you wish to smoke, please smoke in the cafe area. You know, instead of like don't smoke indoors at all. It's like please limit your smoking to the cafe area for your convenience.
Buy the food.
Yeah, buy the food and the
Or smoke in the children's ball pit.
Yeah, which is right next to the cafe. Yeah.
That's, you know, that shit's gonna happen. You know?
Yeah, but no, I really think that I would love to see Thanksgiving make a comeback. I worry that Thanksgiving is kind of falling the way of May Day, which, you know, May Day is like practically not even. Some people don't even know what May Day is because it's basically an extinct holiday.
Right around my birthday, and
yeah, it's the 1st of May.
it was actually Labor Day in Europe. You know, May Day is considered Labor Day in Europe.
But like May baskets, you've heard of that? Like
Yeah.
people giving each other
I
May
remember I
baskets.
got them growing up. We put them at people's doors.
Yeah. So let's take a look at the instructions here, because we should probably get around to that.
It's like 20 minutes
Like
long.
actually talk about.
Tirades.
like-
But I do like Thanksgiving. I think some of it is just different experiences that I've had on Thanksgiving weren't necessarily the best.
Well, yeah, that can be true that's true of almost everyone. Like I don't think that there's a single person who hasn't had a bad Thanksgiving. You know,
Yeah.
the one holiday, and I know we're putting off the instructions a little bit longer, but the one holiday I never had a bad holiday of was Halloween. I completely I nailed Halloween.
Wow.
Like I was a different costume. I made most of my costumes. I was a different thing every year. I hit all of the main things to be. Like I was a vampire one year. I was a ghost. I was a mummy. I was like all of the classic monster characters. Yep. And there was one year where it fucking snowed. One year where couple of years where it rained. There was one year where I had a cold and I was sick and I basically waited until the last minute to come up with a costume. So I just put on a pair of Groucho Marx glasses with the fake nose and the mustache, and I said I was a guy with a cold, and every time I sneezed, I'd blow my nose off. So even then, I was able to just like on the spot improvise something.
Yeah.
And even that was probably my worst Halloween, and even that Halloween was a good Halloween. So like. Love Halloween because like it's all about like just having fun. It's not about togetherness or any shit like that. It's just all about individuality and having fun and eating candy and getting free shit and like celebrating like the paranormal and the supernatural and shit like that. So yeah, never had a bad Halloween, and I just I love that. I love the fact of that. I had bad Christmases.
Oh, yeah.
I had a few very bad Christmases, and I had some kind of bad Thanksgivings too. Almost always there was a fight. I don't, there's almost always a fight when you're like having. There's even if it's just dinner with a turkey, there's some kind of added stress that causes everybody else to be all. Causes everybody to be all riled up and get into arguments that they wouldn't have gotten into any other day. There's just something about holidays that bring out the worst in people, and I don't know what it is. It's like, it's the stress, I guess. The stress of everybody knowing it's Thanksgiving and wanting it to be a good Thanksgiving, and so everybody's all stressed out, and they end up getting into fights and biting each other's heads off, and
it turns into a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly. Like even this Thanksgiving, I got into an argument with my parents, and there was no reason for it. no point. You know, it was like the most, you know, it should have been the most like low key, uneventful Thanksgiving ever, but we still got into an argument. Not that we, not.
You're like, I love Thanksgiving. Don't fucking take Thanksgiving away. It's like these fucking arguments and drama and.
Well, later that night, I actually went to Walmart, not to shop, but just to get some stuff, and that I would have gotten anyway. And there were these two women, these two hens, talking, and they were like, they recognized each other, and they were like, "Are you on your first store or your last?" And the other one was like, "Oh, we're somewhere in the middle. You know, we've already been to a few stores, and now we're hitting Walmart, and now we're going to hit some other places." And I'm just like, how pathetic. You know, how pathetic. It's Thanksgiving night. You should be relaxing with your family, and you're doing this shit. You're making fools of yourself. It's so undignified.
I really like Thanksgiving in the realm that I have 4 days off.
That's always
Thursday, Friday, and then we don't start till Monday.
That's always good.
Because that was the first time I had 4 days off in probably a year.
Yeah. Well, that's the great thing about the holidays. Even if you don't like them, like if you're Jewish, you're still going to take Christmas vacation. You know, it's like Thanksgiving, you get a few days off. Christmas, you get a few days off. And then sometimes it goes into New Year's. And
a lot of the good unionized factory jobs, not just shitty factory jobs, but unionized good ones, they shut their plant down from Christmas Eve until the start of next year.
Mm-hmm.
And that does not count against a lot of these guys' vacation if they get a good contract.
Yeah.
So that's the true holiday spirit right there.
Growing up, when I was a kid in the 90s, Christmas vacation used to last until like December 23rd until January 5th.
Wow.
And we'd go back to school on like the 6th.
Wow.
That was like a long, you know, it was basically like 2 weeks long.
Wow.
And that was always fun. I think it was partly because of the 12 days of Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, so they were accommodating the Catholic kids, you know, because the Catholic kids, because, you know, in the Catholic tradition, it's more about the 12 days of Christmas, right? Instead of just the one day. They recognize all 12 days, right?
I don't really remember any of that.
Okay. You blocked that out.
I know I got like 30 presents one year. I don't know. It was all at one time. I don't know the 12 days, or I know there's an advent calendar.
Okay.
But I don't really know we never really talked about that with Jesus and Catholicism and that. It never really came up. So when you're saying that's a big deal, I'm like, fuck, I don't know.
It might be like an Eastern Orthodox thing. I don't know.
Or if they're more traditional.
Or just more traditional, yeah.
They're not like the ultra liberal Catholic.
Yeah. So, 23 minutes into the video, we'll get into the instructions.
They seen them fucking there. We already went through the instructions.
What's in the box? 4 decks of game cards. In the box, you'll find 4 decks, one for each round of Santa versus Jesus. Do not shuffle these cards. They come in a specific order for gameplay. That's kind of, you know, like imagine having to keep all of these in order.
Jesus Christ.
That's kind of too much, you know. That's kind of.
Probably ended up for $2. It's probably out of order and fucked up now.
Yeah, it's kind of it's kind of an unreasonable expectation to expect all of these cards to be kept in order, you know.
Well, I think that they just have to be in their slots in order. But even that sounds like a pain in the ass. Yeah. In the middle of the box, you'll find 28 believer cards and 16 character cards. So you can be the Virgin Mary, you can be Jesus, you can be Mrs. Claus. I've been so good, Santa, unless you want me to be naughty.
Huh.
Oh.
Wow. And then you have believer cards, which I guess are the Santa Claus cards.
Oh, wait. Look at that one.
I know you said love thy neighbor, but they're foreign. Wow. I guess we should pay more attention to the cards. They look pretty entertaining.
I'm so happy you're back, Jesus. You'll be so proud of everything we've done in your name. Call me Jesus, and it has that number, and this chick's flashing, and, you know, they got... Believing in you allows me to judge others.
Ha!
Oh, thanks for my presents, Santa. They look natural, right?
Oh,
Oh, yeah. So
so you know what? I'm gonna just say fuck the details of the game.
I think we understand it enough.
It's a card game. We'll just leave it at that.
I believe in you because my family gave me no alternative.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, look at this one.
I saw you kissing mommy, but you never called her back.
Wow.
Yeah. And then Jesus, thanks for dying for my sins, much appreciated. Oh, so that's not actually Jesus. And then sitting on your lap makes me feel warm inside. Are they each two-sided?
Yeah, they're each two-sided.
Okay.
So they got a Jesus side and then the
Okay.
whatever.
So that has something
That's
to do.
too much words. I'm not going to read those. Oh, here's the character cards. So, these are the whatever ones. And here's our character cards. So we'll start with the Blessed Virgin Mary. And they have strength and they have that.
Gold, the wise man.